Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jacqueline. I'm a third grade teacher and I'm going into my second year of teaching. So in this video and a few more, I'm going to be talking about the first days of school and how to prepare for them. It'll be kind of like a series kind of thing. So if that is something that you're interested in, go ahead and click that subscribe button below so that you don't miss out on any of these videos. In this video specifically, we are going to be talking about routines and procedures. So routines and procedures are key to having good classroom management, and good classroom management is key to having a successful year. I have heard so many stories of teachers not having good classroom management and therefore they cannot teach because they are too busy either pointing out bad behavior or trying to get kids to even just listen. So if you do not have good classroom management, you will not be able to actually teach your students. You want to introduce your routines and procedures on the very first day of school. Now you don't have to go through all of your routines and procedures. For example, I did not talk about my procedures for Chromebooks or for centers because we didn't use our Chromebooks or go into centers on the first day of school or maybe even the first week of school. So I didn't introduce those just yet. I didn't want to overboard them with all of our procedures and routines. Instead, I just went over our main ones, the ones that we are going to be using every single day. So I'm going to go over some of the routines and procedures. These routines and procedures I put on my first day of school PowerPoint, and during my PowerPoint I will click through them kind of just to direct me, but I won't read them off of my PowerPoint. I'll kind of just read the title, kind of go over what it would look like, and model. You want to model all of your procedures, and not only that, you might want to have a student model it, and then you also want to have your whole entire class model it. For example, getting in line, that is a good procedure that you want your whole class to do. Modeling is also very important because maybe when you see your whole class model it, you can see if that's going to work or not. For example, my very first procedure that I introduced them is how I want them to enter our classroom. So at first, originally, I had told them, when you walk into the classroom, you guys are gonna put your homework in the homework bin, and then you're gonna move your magnets from the absent side to the present side, and then you're gonna go sit down and get started on your morning work. So then I had my whole class model it, so we all went out in the hallway and we pretended. We went into our classroom and they pretended to get their imaginary homework and put it in the homework bin, and I quickly realized that was not going to work out because there was a traffic jam. And also I didn't know that all of my students had to enter in the exact same time. So I thought, as soon as they arrive at school, they were going to come in and go inside my classroom and get started on morning work. But the way that my school does it is that when they come to class, they actually sit outside of your class in the hallway until that first bell rings. Everyone that's sitting outside goes into your classroom. So they're actually all going into my classroom at the exact same time. So I quickly realized that was not going to work out. They did not have time to pull out their backpack, pull out a folder, put their homework. It was gonna be a hot mess. So quickly I was like, that's actually not gonna work out. Let's try something else. So I had them all come in, I got rid of the homework bin, and all they had to do was move their magnet from the absent side to the present side, and then take their seat and get started on morning work quietly. So I was thankful that I had them model that, otherwise I would have found out days later that it was a hot mess. So definitely model these things with your students. So that is the first procedure that I went over, entering into my classroom. The next one that you might want to introduce is tardy. What should they do when they are tardy? Should they come into your classroom and hand you their tardy slip to you while you're teaching? Or do you want to have like a tardy bin where they go in and put their tardy slip? Or do you want them to file it themselves? I had my students just put it on my desk, and go to their desk. I didn't want anyone to come in and give it to me while I'm teaching. I just wanted them to put it on my desk. That way when I get to my desk, it's right there. I won't forget to file it, and that's that. So that's something that you might want to think about. Another procedure that I had them all model was lining up. So this one was another one that I ended up changing, not on the first day of school, but days later. So originally I was going to call them by table. So I would say table 1, go line up. Table 2, go line up. Table 3, go line up. Table 4, line up. And that's how I did it when I was student teaching. Now when I was student teaching, I had 28 students and all of them were first graders. So that was definitely the best way to do it for 28 first graders. But when I became my own classroom teacher, I'm teaching 3rd grade and I only had 17 students. So at first it worked out. I mean, I did table 1, table 2, it was nice and clean, but it kind of took a hot minute. Now within the first few weeks of school, there was a fire drill. And so I went over the procedures. Once you get that fire drill, you just get up and get in line and let's roll. So when our first fire drill happened, they got in line so quick and very nicely. Like there wasn't this whole mess that I thought there would be if I told my students to all get in line at the same time. And maybe that has to do with that they're 3rd graders and not first graders. And there's only 17 of them instead of 28. So after I saw them get in line like that for the fire drill, I was like, okay, that's how we're gonna get in line now, because that was perfect. Instead of kind of wasting some time by saying, okay, table 1 line up, okay, now table 2 line up. That can take a little while, but you use your judgment. It definitely depends on how many students you have in your class. I don't think it would have ever worked if I was telling 28 first graders, okay, everyone get in line. That would have been a mess, but it definitely did work with 17 3rd graders. So that was another one that we ended up changing. Another procedure that you want to talk about is your hallway procedure. How should they look when they're walking down the hallway? For us, we walk on the right side of the hallway. We go down the ramp and up the stairs, and we are always at a 0 in the hallways. So that is definitely important and definitely worth modeling as a whole class. The next one that we talked about was the pencil procedure. This is another one that I ended up changing, and that's okay. It's okay if you end up changing your procedures and routines, as long as it's for the better. Just make sure that you have routines and procedures starting on the very first day of school. It's different when you go in with procedures and then change them, rather than not going in with any procedures and routines and then all of a sudden having them. You know what I mean? So pencils, I know there are so many different routines that teachers use dealing with pencils. For me, at first, I had 2 little buckets. One of them said dull, and then another one said sharp. So we would have our sharp pencils all in the sharp bucket, and the students would grab their pencil, and whenever they needed a new one, or if their pencil became dull, they would get up, go put it in the dull bucket, and then grab a sharp one. And of course, there is no sharpening pencils ever during the day. That happens at the very end of the day. So that was okay. It wasn't a bad routine or procedure, but I would notice kids just wanting to get up and go across the room to put their sharp pencil. It wasn't even dull. They would still put their sharp pencils in the dull bucket just to grab another pencil. Or I remember once I was writing on the board and I turned around and one of my students put her pencil in her mouth and broke it and put her pencil up to grab a new one. And she broke it on purpose so that she can get up and go get a new pencil and walk across the room. And so I ended up changing it. The way I did it was every group had double amount of pencils. So if there was 5 students in table 1 would get 10 pencils. And so there's 10 pencils in their caddy starting in the beginning of the day. So they all have 2 pencils. And at the end of the day, table 1 would have to return all 10 pencils to me. So I really liked that because they were cautious about losing their pencils because they know at the end of the day they have to return all 10 pencils. I liked it because they worked together. Whenever they did lose a pencil, they would like all look around and try to find that pencil. And then of course we also had classroom jobs, so then the pencil person was in charge of gathering all the pencils, making sure every group returned the 10 pencils or however many we gave them that morning. And then that pencil person would also sharpen the pencils and then put all the pencils in their caddies. So the pencil person was a very important job because it was a lot of responsibility, but they loved it. So that was my pencil routine. I know a lot of teachers do other stuff. And by the way, if you have any more procedures than the ones that I'm talking about, or if you have a pencil procedure that you want to talk about, definitely leave it in the comments below so that we can all get ideas from each other. The next one we're going to talk about is the bathroom procedure. So every school is different, whether it's 2 at a time or 1 at a time. At my school, it's 2 at a time. At first, I had made some lanyards for them that like said it was a bathroom pass or an office pass and stuff like that. And later on, I ended up getting rid of the bathroom pass because it's just kind of gross. They're putting on a lanyard, they're going to the bathroom, they're not gonna wash their hands, and then they're gonna come back and then they're gonna touch the lanyard and put it back. And anyways, I ended up just throwing it away because my kids don't wash their hands. And I just quickly realized how gross that was. And then there was also like, as soon as you walk in, you're supposed to put the lanyard back, but my students are funny. They want to go to their desk with their lanyard and then be like, oh, darn it, I forgot. They go back all the way to the door, put their lanyard away. But anyways, I just ended up getting rid of it. Just go to the bathroom and come back. And obviously there's no talking or playing in the bathroom. You just go there and come right back. Another thing to consider and to talk about with your students is having a procedure for what you want them to do when they're finished. I gave my students options. I found this thing on Teachers Pay Teachers, and it was like a board display, and it said what I do when I'm done, and then it gave them options, and then you can fill in your own options. So I had like read a book, do your math homework, practice cursive, do your daily science or your source study, stuff like that. But yeah, that one is very important because you don't ever want your early finishers to be like, what do I do now? You know, so definitely have some options for things that they can do after. And I think that also like motivates them to finish quickly and not to procrastinate. Another procedure you might want to think about is passing in assignments. For my class, there wasn't a specific way. I had group leaders, so sometimes I would be like, okay, group leaders, pick up your team's papers and put them on my desk. Or sometimes I would pick it up. Or sometimes I would just have my teacher's assistant pick it all up. So those are just different ways. If you have your desk lined up in rows, maybe you want to pass it all forward. That one is just all about your preference. I also had procedures on turning in exit tickets. So I had a bin that was kind of like a self-assessment in a way when they turn it in. They had 3 different categories that they can turn it in. They can turn it in into got it, sort of got it, or need help. So that let me know whenever I picked up the got it papers, then I'm expecting them to really understand it. And then it would also let me know who didn't really get it. Even if they like got all of it right, I would know they probably guessed because they put it into the bin that says I need help. And I think that was really important because a student could just guess and get it all right. Especially with exit tickets. Exit tickets are normally 2 questions and stuff like that. So I liked that because they can use their own judgment on whether or not they understood the objective and all that. And then I would know how confident they are in their work. There is also the fire drill procedure that you may want to talk about. I know every school is different, so yeah. Headings for every assignment. I had my students put their name at the top, and on the right side they would put their number. That was for every single thing. And then the last procedure that I talked about on the first day of school was the end of the day procedures. So our end of the day looked like clearing off our desk, everyone getting started on their class job. So everyone had a job and everyone got to it quietly. And I like that because it kept everyone busy. And then at the end of the day, they would also color in the conduct that they landed on. So I used the clip chart method, and if they landed on pink, they would color in their calendar pink, or green, they would color it green. And that was pretty much it. Throughout the day, I would also give fish slips, so people would be collecting their fish slips, putting in their fish slip envelopes. And yeah, on Fridays, our end of the day would look a lot differently because we would do the treasure box and stuff like that. So those are some of the procedures that I went over on the very first day of school, and I did end up changing some of them, like I said, and that was okay. You definitely want to be consistent with these procedures as well, because keep in mind, for some reason, it's very common that all of your students don't come to school on the first day of school. They might come the second day or the third day. So definitely be consistent. Practice them every single day for like maybe the first 2 weeks of school, so that the rest of your school year is very clean and in order. So definitely be consistent. I know for me, I had a new student days later, and I kind of wanted to test my students to see what they knew. So I was like, okay class, like what should she know? And everyone's hand went up and everyone named every single procedure that I had. And it was just a very proud moment because it showed me that they remembered everything. And I think that had to do with being consistent, teaching them every day, and modeling it. So definitely do that. If you have a new student, definitely take that opportunity to test the rest of your class and see what they remember, you know? Now, I understand that some of these might look different if we do go back to school in the fall due to COVID and all of the boundaries that we're gonna have to take. For example, you probably won't be sharing pencils. Your hallway procedure might look different since we'll probably be walking 6 feet apart. Going into centers might be different. So keep in mind to definitely have a plan, start thinking about it, start typing them up, but also be flexible because no one really knows what this next school year is going to look like. I hope that you found this video helpful, and if you did, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!